Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to Breakfast with Sergio. Super excited to be here with you today. In the show this morning, here for breakfast, we have none other than photographer Jesse Dittmar. He's an amazing photographer. We're going to talk about NFTs in the photography space. So, don't go anywhere. Join us. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back. As usual, super excited to be here with you. And especially for me, because today I have a special person, photographer Jesse Dittmar. He's a very accomplished photographer. He has photographed some of my favorite people in the world, Liv Taylor, Andrew Yang, Will Smith, and many other names that you will absolutely recognize. His work has been in the Washington Post, the LA Times. I mean, you name it. You'll see his work as we go through this conversation as well here. And you may recognize some of the images. Maybe you have seen them somewhere else. So super happy, Jesse, to have you here with me. I know you are a busy man. I'm sure you have all kinds of things going on today. And you're making space for us here to talk about something super excited for artists, NFTs. So thank you, man. How are you?
I'm great, Sergio. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, you are based in New York, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn, here in Brooklyn.
And, for many of the kids who are kind of getting introduction to photography right now for the first time, they kind of were born almost already in the digital age, digital
Sure.
photography and things. But for you, as well for me, we saw the shift, right, from
Yes.
analog to digital. So you lived that as a photographer yourself. Tell me a little bit about that experience, seeing the medium change, and then not only change, but as the speed of how technology changes today.
Sure.
Seems like every month there's like new things coming out. You get the new camera and next month you have the newest, right?
Sure.
So
Totally.
tell me a little bit about, experiencing that change.
I feel really lucky to have started photography before digital hit hard. It's a different experience shooting on film. You have to, there's just a lot less room for error. And you have to really understand since it's so much more functional and manual, you have to really understand the technology a bit better, and that really kind of rounds you out for when you start photographing digitally. Now, I love digital too, because it provides the opportunity to do certain technical things that you could never think about doing. I mean, even yesterday, I did this photo shoot yesterday. I delivered the edits to the client yesterday. You never could have done that
Right.
25 years ago. So everything has sped up significantly because of the technology. But I also try not to focus on tying my craft to the technology. I consider that what I do artistically to be tied to myself and my personality and how I interact with the subject. I love the cameras that I use, and I specifically use specific equipment to help me accomplish the work that I want to make. But I'm always really anchoring my work in things other than technology, because I don't want my work to become obsolete if the technology changes.
Right.
So although I do keep up and use the best tools available to make my work, I still shoot most of my portraits that you see on my Hasselblad film camera that I bought when I was 17, that was made in the 1960s.
Wow.
And I just am in love with the image. And so I try to embrace new technology, embrace the tools that help make my work, that are new or old. And I don't focus too hard on what's coming out tomorrow, which is a little bit antithetical to us talking about the NFTs, because that is a technology in a space that is very much of the future. But I don't consider that to be working in NFTs to be considering the same as using a new camera or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a difference between the tool, right, versus the technology in which, the world moves and changes, and
Sure.
And information is exchanged, between hands and between people and so on. The systems versus the tools, right? I think
Absolutely.
maybe it's maybe a better way to
Big
put it.
difference.
Exactly. So I think actually that's a great segue into talking about NFTs and blockchain and all that. Is tell me, how did you get interested into this subject? Is that something that you had been looking at it before? And kind of what was your introduction into that?
Yeah, the introduction into blockchain is definitely cryptocurrency. It's Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, I've been peripherally interested in it for a long time. I photographed. This is one of the great parts about being a photographer. I had a job where I photographed in 2016 or something like that, someone who is an early adopter of Ethereum and worked on the network. And all of a sudden I had to do some research in order to photograph that guy. And then all of a sudden I know a little bit more about the space, and okay, then I buy a little Bitcoin, and I'm just kind of taking baby steps with the technology as it's growing. And then the NFT thing. So I had an understanding of what the blockchain was, what cryptocurrency was. I didn't really know what NFTs were, but then something on my radar popped of crypto art, and that was in the fall of last year. And when I saw that, I went to myself, okay, well, what's this? And I started checking it out, and my interest really grew from there. I found the space to be pretty inaccessible in the beginning, and it still has a lot of hurdles and friction to get set up in, but it became easier and easier. And as things gained more steam, I was kind of already prepared to jump in. And that's where we are today.
Right. Awesome. So let's start maybe the conversation here a little bit too, for our friends who may be watching this, like, well, I've heard about NFTs, but what exactly is that all about? Sure. Right. I know there's all kinds of conversations in Clubhouse, for example, about 5 or 6 going every second on NFTs and NFTs sure. for artists, and should we call artists NFTs? All this kind of really fun dynamics as artists continue to evolve into this medium, into this system and space, right? Currency. But let's talk a little bit about, if you had, this is a question I would like to ask you specifically, if you had a 12-year-old kid coming into your studio sure. and ask you, hey, Jesse, what's an NFT? How would you downsize, explain it in a way that everybody would understand it?
Well, the first thing I would say is you tell me, because you probably know better than I do what an NFT is, as being a 12-year-old, because this is the technology of the future. When I speak to young people, they just have such a different perspective yeah. of this. So it's more like, how would I explain it to my mom is the better question. And so NFT stands for non-fungible token. It's a asset on the blockchain. If you don't understand what the blockchain is, the blockchain, most simply described, is a public ledger that a ton of computers keep all at the same time. A ton of computers that are not associated with each other. They all have this rolling ledger that if you do something, if you send someone cryptocurrency, or if you send someone a non-fungible token, then it is recorded on that public ledger. So you have to understand what the blockchain is, which is this public ledger. And then an NFT, really simply explained, is a serial number, a unique serial number tied to a digital object that lives on that public ledger. So it can be tied to anything. It can be tied to a piece of photography. It can be tied to a digital piece of art. It can be tied to even physical objects. It can be tied to property. It can be tied to anything that explains ownership. It's really kind of like a proof of ownership, because the NFT lives on the blockchain. Everyone knows where it has gone, where it was created, where it will go. And if it is residing in your digital wallet, which is a simplified version of, it's a pretty complex version of a wallet, but a thing that you own, if the code lives in your wallet, then you own it and no one else does. The thing about NFTs in this space in general is that you have to wrap your head around the idea that people are treating digital items equally as if they lived in the physical world. They're claiming similar value to items that only live digitally. And that's a hard concept to wrap your head around if you didn't grow up in the digital world. That's why a 12-year-old understands it more, because they've been playing video games and they find things in video games that are objects that they consider very valuable that don't exist in the real world, but they'll pay money for. So it's easier for someone who's younger to understand that, who's grown up in a digital space. It can get pretty heavy. It can get pretty heady. It can get complicated pretty quickly, and it can get pretty academic pretty quickly. But in essence, it's a unique serial number tied to an object. And when you own that serial number, you own that thing.
Absolutely. And that object could be entirely digital. So it could be a digital asset and it's entirely, or it could be a combination, which I've seen a lot of artists also doing combination of, the digital asset and also attached with something that's physical,
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah, there's all kinds of really interesting combinations of things. Maybe tell me a little bit about how you as a photographer, as an artist, are looking at the NFT in your career. And as you said, maybe in combination with, the digital asset and a physical object.
I completely agree that it's a long-term game. The underlying technology is what I think we're going to be using as a society to prove ownership of things, including art and my artwork. And that's why I'm interested in it. I think that when someone wants to purchase a print from me or wants to own a piece of art from me, or any artist, they are going to, if they want the physical object, they also are going to want the NFT that corresponds with it, because it is what's the word I'm looking for? You can't fake it. You can't rip it off. It is a dedicated proof of ownership, proof of authenticity, the NFT. And so I think that anything that you will want to get of value in the physical world, you will prefer to have it tied to an NFT in the digital world as well. To have that extra layer of proof of ownership. It might evolve on how that works, but that's why I'm in the space, because I think it's the future of the way that contracts are done. I think that when I get paid, it's going to be via the blockchain technology. I think that eventually all of our banking system is going to be on the blockchain technology. And so I'm just in the space now because I think that I really believe that's where the space is going to be. So why not be in it now? I'm not in it to make the quick buck. I'm not in it to put up my work as an NFT and all of a sudden my work is worth more because I have an NFT of it. I don't think that that's the case. I think that it's just where we are going as a society and technology and art.
Right. No, absolutely. So as you look at also, your NFTs, tell me a little bit kind of in a more practical way, where do you have your NFTs listed and why did you choose that platform?
Right now I have them listed on OpenSea. It's the oldest NFT platform. I found it, the major problem with this space is that if you're listening to this and you don't own any cryptocurrency and you don't have a digital wallet yet, and this is the first or second time you've heard the word blockchain, then getting into the space is a major learning curve. There is not an easy way to do it. There's no, here's my credit card, let me get an NFT. It just doesn't exist yet, which is the biggest problem in the space at large. If you do have some of those things, if you are someone who has a little bit of cryptocurrency and you have a digital wallet already, then getting into a place like OpenSea is quite easy. So that's what I found. I liked OpenSea because there's these fees involved with making NFTs, and with OpenSea, the fee for the creator is relatively low compared to other platforms. You're able to mint what they call minting, which is creating an NFT for free, and it costs a one-time fee to place it for sale. But there's still so much fees involved no matter where you go. The space is very young. It's not cheap to be a part of it, and it's definitely something that just because you have an NFT doesn't mean that you're going to sell it. So I'm at OpenSea. If you type in my name, my last name Dittmar OpenSea, you'll find my NFT collection there. I'm also on this new platform called lazy.com/Dittmar, which is another NFT platform to showcase your portfolio, your work, and not necessarily your work, but the NFTs that you own, whether they're yours or someone else created them and you purchased them or were given them. So those are the primary places that I'm at. But there's so many. There's Mintable, there's Rareable, there's so many other NFT platforms out there. There hasn't been someone who has ubiquitously taken over the space yet. So there's a lot of room for growth in this space at large. I think that in very soon, hard to say when, that there's going to be a player that takes over the space. That all these websites are jockeying for that place right now, and eventually someone will kind of be the place to be, and hopefully they will also be able to lower the barriers to entry, because when I had my Tom Brady up for auction, my first NFT that I sold for auction, a portrait of Tom Brady, I had many people reach out to me saying, I can't bid on this. How do I bid on this? And that's a big problem, in my opinion. The people that are in the space that are purchasing NFTs right now are not everyday people. They are people that are cryptocurrency people, people who've been in the cryptocurrency space for a long time. So before you jump into the space, you got to wonder what's going to be popular with the demographic that's in there right now. And it's still very niche.
Right. And I think speaking of those who are already there and ready to participate as collectors, I think for many of them, gives them also an opportunity to collect, which maybe perhaps they had not in the, art world per se, but now they can participate and engage directly with the artists that they're collecting and things like that. So it opens up a whole new array of collectors in a space where there's no intermediary.
Absolutely. That's another thing that's really exciting about it, is that if you want to get into the space, there's so much new artwork out there. And if you are just excited about being able to be a part of a new artist community and start collecting art that you like in this space, I mean, it's still in such its infancy that you can get artwork for very cheap. That if who cares what it's worth tomorrow if you love it. And so it's an amazing space that's completely democratized, that you don't need to go to a gallery. You don't need some fancy gallery in Chelsea, New York, telling you what's good and what's not. You can go on the internet, you can find stuff that you're into, and you can collect what you like.
Right, and support an artist who, maybe right now putting himself or herself out in the world for the first time. That would be totally. Really, yeah, what makes me really excited, kind of as we start wrapping it up, our conversation for friends here, but what makes me excited too is, for the first time you have something made also for the medium of digital, right? Where before, for a digital artist, and I know many digital artists who started creating digital art before even galleries were accepting digital art as art, but they were already into the process and using it as a medium. But the only way to get it into kind of like the artwork, squeeze it in, was to, have to find a way to print it, make it physical, so that then the gallery system would say, okay, now this is a work of art, right?
Yeah. No longer. So
you take it, so you stripped it out of its original idea, because you'll always lose when you pull it out of the digital, and you lose. There's loss of data. There's loss of what it was intentionally going to be, and then the third thing is like, then that becomes then another iteration now when that artwork is photographed, and so there's like all these steps. And I think for the first time, someone who's working digitally in any sort of fashion now has an outlet directly where said, no, this was intentionally made digitally, it must remain digitally. Absolutely. In the digital space. Why does it have to be printed in order to be real? And that's what makes me excited.
Totally. And anyone who started as a digital artist is just, these are the people that were at the forefront of the movement. It's got to be super exciting for them. And it's exciting for me too, like I said, as part of my moving portraits. Those are things that I've always wondered what's the best way to display these. How am I going to get these into the hands of collectors that want to collect my work? And now it's here. The technology is here, and that's just super exciting.
Excellent. Well, Jesse, you've been so awesome. You have given us a lot of really great things to think about. I'm sure our friends would love to run and visit your website and check out your NFTs and follow you on social. So that's the next question for me. What kind of friends find you on social media and your website, please?
Instagram is the best place to follow what I'm up to. I'm posting behind the scenes and new work regularly. It's at Jesse Dittmar. And then my website's same, jessedittmar.com. Those are the best two places to follow me. And if you go on my Instagram, there's a link to my NFT gallery. So that's the best way to see everything we've been talking about. I'm constantly making new work and just trying to continue doing the thing that I love doing.
That's awesome, and thank you so much for your time. And thank you to all our friends also for sticking around and checking out this conversation. Find the full length conversation in the Artist Next Level podcast. Of course, here for the video, it's a bit of a shorter version, so more digestible for social media. But if you want to, hear the entire full length, make sure that you subscribe to the Artist Next Level podcast. Check out the conversation there as well. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us. Super excited for you and for all the things that you're doing. Love your stories on Instagram too, the behind the scenes of what you're doing, and that is super awesome, right? What a great way to keep people engaged with the things that we are doing as artists. So thank you for your time. Thanks to everyone who's here, and do us a big favor. Jesse and I will be super stoked, super happy if you do us a favor, if you click on that little share button. I know there's a friend that you can send this to, maybe another photographer that send this to, or just click it and share to your social media. You never know who might be right now in this kind of question of, well, I don't know if this is for me. I don't exactly understand what this is all about. What's this fuss about? Well, I think this episode will bring a lot of light into that conversation. And I'm super happy for that. Thank you, Jesse, for again, educating us in what you are doing as well. And hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you, Sergio. This was super fun.
Thank you, guys. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.